We've all been there. We see someone at a party or meeting, someone we've met at least 2 or 3 times before and even talked to for a few minutes. But the thing is, our memory betrays us, and we simply cannot remember her name. Perhaps you devise some ingenious way to get it out of her without asking her directly. Or maybe you'll run into a friend of yours and introduce him to this woman, hoping that she'll then introduce herself by name. Wouldn't it be nice to finally put an end to forgetfulness? That's where this book comes in. Everyone wants to have excellent memory, right? But considering how many people find it hard to concentrate on details, remembering them just seems out of the question. There are ways to do it, though. Here are some top tips to improve your concentration. First, rid yourself of conflict, that is, anything that leads your mind in different directions and stops you from concentrating. Do you spend time switching between checking your email and sending several messages on your phone? Well, that would make you like just about everyone else. But how do you get rid of internal conflict without doing something drastic like joining a monastery? A good starting point is to stop multitasking. According to neuroscience experts, multitasking actually slows you down by 50% and increases your chances of making a mistake by 50%. Another smart move is to prevent your mind from wandering by giving yourself a purpose. That way, you can easily remind yourself why you wanted to concentrate on something in the first place. Have you ever read a page of a book and then immediately forgot what you just read? Well, that never has to happen again. An easy way to remember a bit of information is to bring it to life, and this is all about using your creativity to make a memorable movie or picture. Say you're trying to learn pollo, the Spanish word for chicken. Picture yourself playing polo while riding on a massive chicken and you'll never forget it again. Or, let's take the capital of Australia, Canberra. If you're trying to remember it, visualize a kangaroo eating some berries to help jog your memory. It takes some practice to think in this way, but it makes the process of remembering things much easier. To make the pictures you've imagined super exciting, and therefore more memorable, just use the Loci method. Information. Up next is exaggeration. Compared to an ordinary horse, you're more likely to remember a giant bright pink horse wearing a tux, right? Forget logic, it's all about making funny, fantastical images, and lastly, energize. A horse galloping at full speed into the sunset is far more entertaining than one standing still in a stable. Adding a bit of action will make the information you're trying to retain a lot more vivid. Now that you've discovered how to create memorable images, it's important to learn how to organize them in your mind. The best way to do this is to use the Loci Method, also known as the root method, which is the practice of combining new information with something already familiar. Humans are experts at remembering specific routes or places. Just think about your commute to work, so most memory systems already make use of loci. It works by putting the items to be remembered at specific locations along a route that is already vivid and familiar in our minds. Here's how you can put the Loci method to work. Say you're trying to memorize bits of a speech you have to give. You would imagine walking around your house along a particular route. The idea here is to create a string of locations to visit as you go. So, in each room you imaginarily venture to, pick 3 specific locations in the room, and put them in a specific order. In this way, as you go around your house, you combine each part of the speech with the locations you've picked. It's always remarkable when a person can easily recall complex mathematical facts or historical dates at the drop of a hat. If you want to be able to do the same, here's a simple way to remember numbers that only requires 3 steps. The idea is to transform numbers into images that'll stick in your mind. First, you'll need to learn a system that changes numbers into letters or alters how those letters sound. Take the number 0, which can be represented by the letters S, Z, and C. Tough to remember? Think about a hissing wheel. After all, 0 looks like a wheel anyway. Each number from 0 to 9 can be assigned a group of similar sounding consonants. For instance, the number 6 can be represented by the sounds J, SH/CH, or a soft G. You can also use the shape of the numbers when you assign the sounds to make them easier to remember. For instance, if you flip the numbers 2 and 3 on the side, they look like the letters N and M respectively, and if you flip the number 9 horizontally or vertically, it looks like a P or a B. Vowels are left out for now, but come into use later. The next step in remembering a date or number is to write down the letters that represent them and make up a word. Say you want to remember the year 1969, when humans first walked on the moon. Most memorable dates happened in the last millennia, so you only need to remember the 969-bit. Therefore, the sounds B, SH, and P should come to mind. Together, they can be used to make the word bishop. The last stage is to make a picture for you to remember. Using the SEE principle, take the word you've created and your chosen date or number. For the above, a bishop dancing on the moon with Neil Armstrong should do the trick. Is there anything more embarrassing than forgetting a colleague's name? Well, when it comes to memorizing this kind of information, just remember the 4 Cs: concentrate, create, connect, and continuous use. If you use this handy system, you'll never have to deal with this awkward situation again. First and foremost, you've got to concentrate on the person's name if you want to remember and use it. Say the name out loud and then repeat it. If it's a tricky one, just ask for the spelling. To help the name stick, pick it apart and use any words that come to mind to create a memorable image. Take, for example, the author's surname, Horsley. To remember his name, you might picture a fight between a horse and Bruce Lee. Once you've sorted your image, connect it to the person's face whose name you're trying to remember. That way, seeing their face will immediately bring up their name. Do you remember much of what you learned at school? According to the author's research, within 2 years of finishing school, people can only remember the equivalent of about 3 weeks' worth of lessons from 12 years of daily classes. It's no surprise, then, that without training your memory you'll forget most of what you've learned. To put it simply, all this brain training is pointless without a review process to make it stick. But what's the most effective way to do this? Each time you revisit what you've memorized, the information you've absorbed has more of an impact in your mind than it did before. Therefore, to really make sure your brain never forgets what you've learned, you should gradually leave more time between one review and the next. After learning something new, you should go over it after 1 day, then 3 days, then 7 days later, and so on. You should return to it 2 final times after you've had a 2-month break and again following a subsequent 3-month break. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more book discussions.